Hello, welcome to another video. Wasn't quite happy with the quality of the last video, so any of you that watched it, thank you, sorry. But yeah, quality's going up, 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 as far as I can take it. I'm editing the videos, I'm making the videos, so I'm kind of doing the content on the fly. If there's anyone out there that wants me to film anything in particular on the build or to cover anything, let me know, because I'll cover it. Absolutely fine by me. I'm doing it all, so I'll work out how to film it. But we've got in here the straps that need to go on. They'll be going on in this video. So they're roughly spaced every 2 meters. We've got these straps as well for where the inside skin doesn't quite tie to it. So I can tie it to all the beams above either side of that window. It's one of those things that wasn't there before, but it's a building reg thing now. So put them in now, everyone's happy. But yeah, every 2 meters internally. And as you can see, very rainy. So another job that I'll be covering in this video is the felt and battening on the roof. So all my spacings, how I'm working that out. A little bit interesting for some people. Some people might have seen it all before, but I've never done it. Other than, actually, tell a lie, I have done it before. I had a little tiny extension on my first house. It's low pitch roof tiles. They're all interlocked. It was quite straightforward. But yeah, it's a 13-degree pitch roof, not a 45-degree pitch roof, and not the kilometre of batten that needed to go down because they were large format tiles. These are small plain tiles that be going down. So very different. The batten spacing's a lot less, but I'll try to cover that also as well. The Soffit and fascia. So that detail, how I'm building all that up, I'll cover that. Those dreaded Ashlar walls that I mentioned briefly in the last video. So it's the structural wall that sits on top of the ceiling here. You can see them already in, but I'll cover how I did those. Also worked out what was wrong with my audio. It's been connecting to my headphones, not the mic that I spent all that money on in several occasions. That's why the wind muffler isn't working at all. Got the hardwood ply down there, which I can rip down and then do long cuts of it here, so I've got a long fixing point, but I hope it's working now. So I'm going to be going down here. I'm going to be putting on a small soffit as it goes around the bow windows. Obviously the soffit is going to reduce, but it's roughly to that point, so it go down to almost 3 inches in front of those bow windows, or 75 mil, somewhere between 3 and 4 inches, 75 mil and 100 mil. And cut all these plumb, and then put on a straight bit of timber underneath, sort of like this. So I put it on level, and then that gives me a soffit detail, which is the bit on the bottom that you can fix into. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a string line all the way down the front of the building, and that allows it to be perfectly straight. Then I can mark all of the ends, cut them. Yep, I'm doing fixing. That was my niece interjecting in the voiceover. Yeah, so go down, cut all the fascias and soffit trims on the ends of those joists. That then will allow me to fix on all the soffit and fascia. So yeah, it's the straight cut and then it's the bottom cut. If I was a bit more talented, I would have done it all in one go when I put up the rafters. But on my first cut roof, probably a bit of a stretch if I'm being honest. Some of them I need to make longer so I can then cut them back so there is a fixing point. But I'm going to be putting that hardwood ply, as mentioned, on the fronts of the joists. That will then allow me a good fixing point for the fascia boards. And then also the guttering. So it's something substantial for them to fix into. It also will allow me to do my kick of the tiles, so the very bottom tiles, so they're not dangling. But it's just repeating this all the way around the build and then adding in any additional grounds as needed. I think one of the learnings I'd take away from this is I'd definitely just get longer rafters. So some of these rafters were 5.4 meters, and if they were 6 meter rafters, it would just make my life a lot easier. And then making my life a lot easier on these jobs particularly. But this next job of putting in the Ashlar walls. Again, I'm doing it backwards. No chippy would do it like this, I don't think, where you go behind yourself and then you're cutting it over a wall. It's very cumbersome. So more talented, I would have done it all in one go. So you have two birds' mouths and the wall in place first of all. But it seemed to work out all right in the end. It's just tedious exercise. It took me 2 half days almost to get it all right, all in, all cut. And yeah, I did run out of timber towards the end, where I then ended up using some 4x3 studs. But yeah, here's me attempting to top up my tan again, or give myself new tan lines with those straps. But yeah, just cutting everything down to length. So I've got the header and sole plates, which are going to make up that structural stud wall, which is then going to help support the roof. Most of the roof is going to be self-supporting, but this just takes a lot of the burden of the weight over those longer spans, particularly those timbers as they get towards the middle off the roof. Again with the rain stops, but I've got in my first little Ashlar wall, so it supports the timbers where they're over span. Well, the middle one is, these two are, and this one just about are. The rest are fine, but you just build the wall all the way across, ties it in. And it's just that 4x2 C24 with a bunch of studs. But we're gonna do the same over here. I just need to shift stuff around, and I've got my laser set up because it's dark enough outside where I can actually see it. I've set my laser in over there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but essentially it's pinged across to here, and then I'm just going to take a 45 out of all of these little marks. I'll mark them in ink as well, just so they're a bit clearer to see, as I don't think that's very clear. But yeah, essentially just another bird's mouth. So I take a 45 out and then I build the wall underneath it. If I was more skilled, I would have done it all in one, which would have been a lot easier. At this point, it would seem a lot easier. So do the bird's mouth down there, and also do one here. But I'm not that skilled, so I'm making it in situ. I'm going to go this way, as I've already done that side, the way the floor joists run. Then I'm going to move back the floor, get in all my 8x2 noggins, as it's going to take a lot of noggins to fill the gap, and I think it'd be about here. So the wall is just over 1 meter tall, and as I say, it goes the full length, even though it's only really needed for about 5 of the studs here, a central one, and then these 2 off of it. But I'll set it up on time lapse. If it rains again, you might only see a bit, but yeah, I'll go through it over there. It's important to do this bit before I put all the weight of the tiles on the roof and start climbing up it. So that's why I'm doing it now, and it just happens to be that it kept being either sunny, rainy, windy, horrible. But I digress. We move on. So I'm marking it all down with a level, and then I'm going through with my 190mm circular saw, getting most of that cut in, and then finishing it off either with a hand saw or multi-tool, depending on how accessible it was. Because I did have some good multi-tool blades which just chew through this timber lovely. So it's about getting it all right, and then giving someone a tour there. I can't remember who it was, but I think it might have been my dad. Giving someone a tour and showing them what I was doing that day. So that's the header and the sole plate fitted in for the stud wall, Ashlar wall. Again, much easier to do these beforehand, but that's how it bird's mouths over. And then I'll just plumb up all the studs. So these have been plumbed with one another down there, as you can see. So just a bunch of uprights will go in, and essentially those uprights will just keep this rigid when there's weight sat on these, which will be about, I think, 4 tons, 4 or 5 tons of concrete tiles. So quite a chunky bit of weight on there. I mean, they're 6x2s. Before it was purlings going against it in the opposite direction on 4x2s, and that was with clay tiles, which are heavier. Still need to obviously that side and this side, but I need to add in a row of 8x2 noggins all the way across to sit that on. and I apologise for all the wind noise. I didn't realise there was a noise cancelling feature on the mic. I thought I just had to use the fluffy bit to stop the wind noise, but there is a noise cancelling feature as well. So yeah, just getting all these uprights in, trying to fix them over the top of the 8x2 joists, just so it's structurally sound. And yeah, this is called an Ashlar wall. I've done it at the span of the span tables for these 6x2s, so it's actually less than 3 meters of the roof to run above these, so it's very well supported compared to how it was before. Okay, this one you haven't got on time lapse because I accidentally recorded 85-minute video. Yes, it took me 85 minutes to put in that top plate and all those noggins. But I'm gonna plumb in the bottom plate, sole plate, cut it off and then tie it into the top one, and then I can get, oh, they are nice cuts though, hey? And then I can get my uprights, my studs. These ones have 2 more timbers here as well, which chopped into studs for this wall, and also this front wall when I get this one done in a minute. But this time you will go on time lapse as I do this. So this is the back elevation. If I was to do a loft conversion, this would be the look out the back. So it would be looking onto all my neighbours' gardens, kind of invading their privacy, who have all been very, very understanding, patient. Also my neighbour Andy, I don't know if he watched this video, him and his family are always offering me drinks, always having good chats with him. But this is my friend Josh. He just popped round. He's a chippy by trade, but he doesn't tend to do much first fix, so it was quite interesting to him how it was all going together, as he doesn't actually tend to do, as I say, any first fix. He's more into the cabinetry side, second fix, like all your neat stuff, nice finishes. So yeah, very different for him. He doesn't even have a first fix nail gun. It's all second fix stuff. But I guess that's the way carpentry is split up. It seems when people go, either seem to go on site, or they're doing jobbing bits, or they're in like a woodworking shop, which is similar to what he's doing. The audio seemed to go a bit weird on this bit. It seems to be getting progressively worse as the video goes on, so I don't know whether it's my wind baffle or whatnot, but you can see all the cuts as they go down the line. Those are all those 90-degree cuts. I just need to finish them off as such, where it's cutting them with a round blade so it doesn't go all the way to the corner unless you were to overcut. But I was quite protective of these cuts. I didn't really want to overcut them and then potentially compromise the structural integrity of those 6x2s, because you just want them sitting on the wall, taking the weight out of the rafters so they don't bend. So again, I've had to cover it all over, but I've been adding noggins all down here just to support the sole plate. Lots and lots of noggins. And I've cut all my bird's mouths. And yes, I am wearing goggles. Health and safety. I think if I did it again, wouldn't even construct it this way. But here we are. I'm going to chop the rest of them out, and then this will be the last wall that I need to construct. I think I might need one more length of 4x2 to get the extra noggins in, but I can always buy that and chop them and put them in. But yeah, I'll get on with that now. And this is the view out to the front of the property. I'm still undecided as to whether I'm going to do a porch. I keep flirting with the idea, but it's trying to work out what is best on this property, because they're quite complicated as you get round the front, or at least it is in my mind, with the bow windows, so those curved windows, sort of like bay windows, same sort of principle. Yeah, it gets a little bit complicated with the Soffit fascia detail, but I've done those rafters in the middle a bit closer together in case I do a porch, or in case I put in a skylight at any point. And it's in, minus a couple of studs. Just put in the two central studs. I'm just going to continue them all the way across, basically like I've done everywhere else, just to make it as strong as possible. And I need to add in a couple more over here as well, but I need I think about 6 meters, 7, 8, about 7-8 meters, so maybe 2 lengths of what I had, because I had 4.8 meter lengths, and all my offcuts, most of which are over here, are going to be grounds for my soffit to go in, which I'm going to start doing now. So I'm going to do all the soffit returns, work out where the fascia is going to end, my rough size of fascia, and all that fun stuff. But you can sort of see like the bird's mouth again. I mean, it's not perfect, but as the timbers push up against it, it provides that support. They're already so rigid, and I'll also add in some noggins as well. But yeah, I don't know whether to do corner bracing here, see what building control want, but yeah, obviously a few more studs across here, and I need to noggin. Must have done something in my measurements, but essentially that noggin is too far over, so I need to bring it this way a little bit. I'll probably just leave it in and add another one here. We'll see. I don't think there's a light location there, so it's not too much of an issue, because when it comes to my electrician, who probably watched this video, he won't like drilling through all those bits of timber, especially if he catches a nail with his whole saw bit, or spade bit rather. But once the Soffit fascia goes on, or once those grounds go on, then it's on to felting, finally. Not great hat hair, so I'll leave this on in chain. So I'm just putting in all the uprights. I didn't have any more 4x2, but I have got loads of offcuts of 4x3 from my wall plate, so it's even chunkier. And that's just sat on top of, directly on noggins, you can see there. But yeah, just putting those in and putting my felt on. It's not drum tight, it's just this section looks drum tight because I've nailed it just there. It's actually drape, because you don't want it drum tight. You can see it probably more clearly here. So that's as the rain, if there were any to get in between the tiles, it can fit underneath the battens, which are fixed onto the timbers. You can see the draping more accurately here. The one below even draped even more, but you overlap them essentially. Yeah. And then it would effectively, the water would go underneath the batten. I ended up mixing up jobs a little bit here. I had my dad come help me for a bit. He's telling me, "You're doing this all wrong," as soon as he gets there, like all dads do. And yeah, I'm putting the felt trays on first. I would never do that ever again. I do not recommend putting on the felt trays first. I think put the felt on, don't fix the felt at the very bottom, then slide the trays underneath. And I wouldn't even recommend using those plastic trays. I think they're rubbish. Um, yeah, they're not great. If water is to get behind them, I don't think it allows the felt to drape in the way it's supposed to, and I believe water could get trapped behind there. So I would use something else. So I've got offcuts of EPDM rubber, which isn't going to degrade in UV. It's going to last longer than those plastic trays, and it's flexible, which I would intend to use in the future if I had any offcuts of it. But I don't know if you can buy rolls of EPDM rubber. I've seen on some of the local roofs around here, because you have a bit of a nosy when you're up on the scaffolding, and they've just used what looks like regular damp-proof plastic courses, which will eventually degrade itself. And is it flexible? Not really. Not anything like EPDM rubber, which is used on roofs and guaranteed for like 50 plus years on the product I used anyway, for my old garden room build, if you want to go back and check that one out. But on here you can see I'm spacing them all out. I've got little blocks as I'm working my way up the roof, fitting plain tiles, plain concrete tiles, and I ended up going with brown tiles because I could get some in stock. So I called them up and they were like, "Oh no, no, we've only got grey." Okay. Phone them back when I'm like, "Oh, I'll go ahead with the grey." Okay, so the grey you wanted is now out of stock. Okay, have you got any other tiles that are similar? Oh, actually, we do have this other brand, and it's cheaper. Oh, right. They didn't let me know about that, so I then went ahead with, I believe it's Redland, these Redland rustic brown tiles, which are concrete tiles, as mentioned, but plain tiles. So same coverage and everything. They get delivered, and I'm reading through the spec sheet, and it says 100 mm batten spacing. Okay, 100 mm batten spacing. My stupid little mind incorrectly assumed that 100 mm batten spacing would be the spacing between the battens. But you have to think, if I'm using larger battens, which I am in this case, it's 50 by 25 mm battens. So the other battens are slightly smaller, I believe they're 38 or 35 mm. and as such, the batten spacing in between wouldn't be consistent if you were to do 100 mil spaces between the battens. So when they say batten spacing, they mean top of batten to top of batten. That is your batten spacing and your gauge. So everything I'm doing here up until this point is completely wrong. And I'm just about to find it out because I look down and I see I've got way too much batten. This doesn't seem right. I need to go check the specs, ask AI, and well, here we are.
Right, so I nearly got most of the way done and I've messed it up. So I'm going to eat some humble pie and I'm going to have to take all of this off, which is a nuisance. Probably have to replace the felt as well, as it's probably all damaged. When I say damaged, all the nail holes will be in different places. So if it were to run down the rafters, I could tape all the holes, but I think it's probably best to just replace the whole thing. It's going to cost me another £150. So essentially what I did was not heed the warnings of people who offered to help me set it out. I just don't like being a burden for other people. I don't know whether anyone else gets that, but people offer help and I don't really know them. I'm like, oh, no, it's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll just get on with it. Should have taken the help, but I'll show you. So this is essentially what I've done wrong. So this spacing here is wrong. So these are standard plain tiles and they're meant to have 100 mil gauge. But 100 mil gauge is that. So these are actually set to 150 mil gauge. You see there? So they should be covering the tile below, like this. So it should be closer to that, where the top tile is then still over this tile. So then water can't get through. I'll show the spec sheet, but yeah, it's just idiotic ignorance on my part. Managed to tackle a cut roof, DIY cut roof the first time, and then mess up sticking batten onto the roof. I know, special times, but yeah, I'm going to take it all off, come down from the top, and it's lovely, hot and sunny. All my neighbours can have a little laugh at me having to redo all this, and then they're going to have to listen to the nail gun for a further week. But yeah, take all this off and get my error fixed.
In the scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. I was disappointed. However, you get sneaking suspicions you're doing things wrong. Some people might say things to you and you're like, do they really know what they're talking about? And analysis paralysis. I hate it when you spend too long thinking about a problem rather than just getting on with it. However, when you're doing a job for the first time, probably spend that extra time getting it right, because I'm having to knock out every single one of those nails that I fired in, well over 1,000, for nigh on a kilometre of batten, so over half a mile of batten on this roof. And then I have to spend the time to replace all the felt and then re-batten it. At this point, if I had done it correctly, I'd be putting the tiles on, which would put me almost a week ahead of where I was. Hence the delay between the last video. But in the scheme of things, it's important to learn this lesson. Me, and hopefully, if it prevents one other person from making the same silly mistake that I've made here, great. However, I'm just getting on with it, removing everything, and then I'll start again. I won't let it beat me, but I will learn from my mistake. And this is probably an argument as to why you should, in some cases, even if you are a keen DIYer, maybe consult a tradesman. But I didn't, so here we are.
That's all off. Just need to rip off the felt. Also, beard's off. I accidentally messed up the trimmer, so I had it on the wrong grade. Now I look like a schoolboy. But yeah, £180, 2 rolls of 150 sorry, yeah, 1.5 metre, 50 metre felt, which will cover the roof, and I'll have a bit excess. I've got a friend coming to help hold the other ends of the felt as we tack it on today, which should be a lot nicer. And I'm going to leave it loose at the bottom because I found that was a little bit irritating where I'd put on the felt support trays, those plastic bits at the bottom. They sort of get in the way, so I'll probably take them off, put the felt on, and then tack it all down once I'm doing my battens. And I'm going to get it right this time, 100%. So progress has been real slow, but I've got a at least one single layer of felt all around the build. But you can sort of see the setup here where you have the tiles all over the top of each other covering the ones below. So you get this tile is still over the top of this tile, so it covers the gap. Otherwise rain in my previous gap would have got in between the tiles, and then there's nothing here to stop it. Whereas this way you have a headlap, so you can see this tile, if you were to continue it all the way through, is sort of like here. So it's more than covered, so rain, even if it gets in between here, goes on that one, and so forth all the way up. You have your headlap on these ones. I'll have to bring up the stats, but I believe it's around 68 mil. If that one's on properly. Which is how much the head of the tile overlaps, which is sort of in line with this. I'll pull up the stats anyway on these tiles, but you see here, batten spacing, top to top, 100 mil. As you go down, you can gauge it all. So I just need to continue that all around the building. But you can see how much tighter these gaps are. So it's just over one of my slate batten thicknesses. So a bit of a nuisance when it comes to stacking the tiles on, apparently it will be anyway. But I'm just spacing it with these blocks as I go along and pulling it straight. But the nail gun has jammed, so it seems like a good a time as any to call it a day, as I figured it out, I think. But there's still so much more to do, including going right up here with my dry hips. But my nail gun is jammed, so as you see there, need to flip that lever, which I've already done, which means the firing pin down there is jammed in, so probably best time to call it a day.
So it's cost me 3 days from my day job, 3 days annual leave holiday, to correct the mistake and have to redo all the work. Then also realising I didn't have enough battens. But I did have a friend who is doing his own DIY project. He's a medical professional. This is not Dr. Tim. This guy is an ENT, an ENT, ear, nose, throat specialist. Anyway, DIY, bit of a passion for him as well, and he's doing a kitchen. So he came round to borrow a router, and then I obviously conned him into helping me, and as a result, he got the worst sunburn of his life with that awful, awful vest he's wearing. So much easier with two people doing these battens. Also, as well, you got the entertainment. You can have a chat. He's never used the first fix nail gun before, but I think he was a big fan of it because you realise how much time it saves you. Like, one of us is hand nailing, the other is attempting to use the first fix gun, but you get a lot done. Maybe we didn't get that much done, we were too busy chatting, but it's not always you get to hang out with your friends and also do DIY projects, which is enjoyable, obviously. Much more enjoyable than doing it on my own. I didn't get any sunburn, which was nice, as sunburn is my kryptonite.
Okay, so last couple of days the weather has been so lovely and hot. Terrible for being on the roof. So I'll show you where I'm up to. Bit of smudge on the camera. So done those main two sections halfway up. Going to start staggering them further as I work around the side and around the back. Basically I have a friend who's a chippy builder. I used to play football with him ages ago, but he's done quite a few roofs, and he was essentially saying to me, you want to be working the battens up and getting all the felt on in one go, because it's just going to be a lot easier, and then working back down the roof, because climbing up and down it is a bit of a nuisance when all the battens are so tight, because foolishly I bought slate battens, which is my own fault. Should probably consulted a roofer or someone who knows a little bit more about it. But at least it's not raining, so we can't be too glum about it. It's just overly hot. So we're going to crack on and hopefully get some decent progress, because kind of fed up with just looking at it and having obviously to rip it all off and start again.
So I'm using a block and I'm spacing it as I go up. I'm not putting on the Eaves tile at this point, and you'll see why later, but there is a batten to go below this very bottom batten, and I'm just trying to space up the roof so I can climb up, get as much felt on as possible, as it was scheduled for a little bit of rain. So what you'll see roofers doing is you'll see them going up the roof in sections, so they'll batten up to the top, leaving gaps, and then batten on the way back down. I didn't do it like that in the end. I found that too tricky on my own. Again, maybe with more practice I could get better at it. But I'm using a little tiny circular saw, a rear handled circular saw, DeWalt one. It's like an angle grinder really, but it's got a guard on it, and it's great for cutting these battens, carrying up the rafters. I don't know what I would do without it, to be honest. It would just be hand saw or my big circular saw, my big 190mm circular saw coming up on the roof with me, which is a bit cumbersome for doing fiddly little cuts. But yeah, just going along, trying to get my tan topped up, get rid of my tan lines, and then just continuing the felt before the rain comes, so as much of the building is protected as possible. But I'm just cautious not to make that mistake again. You will notice some of the battens are different colours, and they get real colourful towards the end. This is just what came through. So it's all treated timber, it's all graded, full roofs, proper batten. So I don't want anyone worrying that some of it's yellow, some of it's blue, and some of it's even red. But it is all treated timber. It's perfectly fine for this job. That's what it's designed for. And I'm doing dry hips. So I'll be doing a dry hip system, which means I'll be fitting battens also on the corners, hence those gaps. I do see people leaving battens long right across the top and then just cutting them all off in one go. When you get about halfway up this roof, the 4.8 meter batten length, so I can actually cut off, and then that becomes the next one up. So my offcut becomes the next piece that I actually put down. But yeah, just so repetitive doing this job. And then also, yeah, nail gun jams. It's been jamming a bit more. I don't know whether it's the type of nails I'm using. Obviously not the same brand nails as the nail gun. I don't think anyone does that unless you're having using a Pasload gun where you need the gas, but this is a gasless framing nailer. And it has been good for the most part. I think it's probably jammed on me about 5 times ever. It just happens to be about 3 times on this roofing project it's jammed, which doesn't take too long to fix. You just take an Allen key to it, open it up, and then you clear out any nails that haven't quite fired right or any blockages. Obviously taking out the battery so you don't shoot yourself with it, because that would be a nightmare, getting a nail in the leg. And yeah, I decided to bring up some of these tiles on my own. I got through over a pack and a half, so just under 2 ton of tile, handballing them up there. I worked out a much better way of doing this, but it requires 2 people. But I did have 2 of my neighbours stop by. One gave me ice cream and another gave me some cold Fanta. As they could see, on this day, I was suffering. It was 30 degrees again. Lovely weather. Terrible to be doing any heavy carrying.
I've got most of the battens on now, but I have run out of battens. So, as mentioned multiple times, a kilometre of battens on the roof. But with the gauges that I ultimately ended up doing, as to if you got this far in the video, you know my gauges were way out. Yeah, so I knew more batten to come, but in the meantime there's plenty of other jobs to be done. So I need to clear up down here, as you can see, all the mess, the trail of destruction. Started getting some of the tiles up yesterday. Got 1.5, just over 1.5 of these 8 pallets up there. So I need to get most of the rest of these up there as well. Like, look at the state of this. All the dust and debris and everything that's fallen through. Again, the roof is mainly felted over. The very top bit that I'm going to refelt, it's just that top little square there. You can sort of see where it's darker, where the overlaps are. That's a bit clearer. Still need to get in my wall straps. Again, I'm not too worried about them going in instantly. If if they go in the next couple of weeks, I'm fine with that. But yeah, need to chip off this last little bit of plaster here. And I'm going to strap up here as well with the twist straps. These ones. That could be either side of the bow window. I'm still undecided as to whether the bow window will stay or whether I go for a straight finish window. Just for a cleaner look, easier fit. Slightly cheaper, but does it lose a little bit of the character? Probably. So we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, just to make this site a little bit more hospitable, going to clean that.
So this is the superior method. I had an old friend, Charlie. He came to help me. Old family friend. We all used to go on holiday together as one big family. And he's down there. He's 6'2", 6'3", so he can reach up on that corner of scaffolding when he stood on that pallet. Nice long arms, and hand me up the tiles. Saves me going all the way around. We're probably doing it about 5 or 6 times quicker. A lot easier on the body as I'm not having to go up the stairs. I did, however, have to make my own Eaves tiles with these tiles because they didn't have any in stock for a long time. So an Eaves tile is essentially a shorter tile which will go at the very top of the roof and also at the very bottom. So you don't see the main part of the tile, but it is to cover where 2 tiles meet. So underneath it will be overlapping the 2 sections where the tiles meet each other, so water can't get through essentially. But they need to be shorter, so I'm just cutting them down with my DeWalt 9-inch disc cutter. I do end up changing the blade to a bit of a friendlier one, as this one has some like ribs or notches out of it, which was a bit brutal cutting the concrete tiles, so I went for like a smoother finished diamond blade in the end, and that was doing a lovely clean cut. You actually see me change it here in a second to the big orange blade. But yeah, much better cuts, and that allowed me to go through and cut around 250. And then Charlie came back in the afternoon, gave me a hand getting all these bits up. I treated him to a lovely Five Guys burger for his help. But he's been offering his help for the last 3 projects that I've done. So finally took him up on the offer. He came round, donated a few hours of his time in the morning and the afternoon to give me a hand. And it made the job so much easier. I wouldn't have been able to get this far without someone else helping.
So I managed to get up most of them. So 6 packs are up so far, all the way around. Don't know how much more we can actually fit on. There's the key helper. And yeah, we've got them all around there and all the way around the back. But yeah, just those last 2 packs, but not much room up here at the moment.
You see with the orange blade, probably cutting them quicker as well. It was just a lot smoother to do these cuts. The blades cost about the same. The other one's more for cutting through concrete blocks and brick and that sort, and this is more for tiles and slabs. But yeah, going through these, lovely. This tool, it works like a dream. You just choose through batteries though when you're doing this many cuts. As I say, 250 of these I needed to do.
I'm just going to get these red battens on up there and around there.
So you need to be super careful with the batten gauging as you get towards the top. Although I'm measuring it as I go with a tape measure, but that's down the roof, you need to make sure that the batten at the very top ends close to the very top of the roof, so you can get your Eaves tile on if you're using plain tiles, or you can finish on a full tile at the very top, and then that's covered underneath whatever you're using as a verge or hip tile as such. So it's nice and clean when it comes to that finish. But yeah, just doing this very last bit. The red battens I've got also a different type of slate batten. It's just what I was able to get hold of. These are actually left over from someone else's job, and my dad managed to deliver them to me. So with these ones, they are, I think they were 2 mil thicker, because the other ones are actually 48 mil, not 50 mil. Not really that important, but yeah, just something to be mindful of across a gauge of an entire roof. So I'm just trying to match it in either side, and then I needed more Eaves tiles, so I'm back to chopping these. So many of these. 250 as I say in total, so I'm just doing it in stints so I don't have to do it all in one go and guzzle all my batteries and then not be able to use my power tools for several hours. Even though I do have 4 of these batteries for this, if I'm constantly cutting I won't be able to charge the first one by the time I've used up the 4th one. That's how quickly this will use power.
So after cutting all those Eaves tiles, I've got this bit of EPDM from a garden room I made years ago. It's the thicker stuff, it's like more premium, but I'm going to use that instead of my Eaves felt trays, the plastic ones. I think they're crap. Don't know how or why they use them. This stuff will last longer than the actual roof itself. I think this is Firestone is the brand, and I think it's guaranteed for, it's either 50 or 75 years, and that's how long the guarantee lasts. But it's proper stuff. I think this is like £700, or well, £700 about 3-4 years ago when I built the garden room for a massive great big sheet of it. Obviously this is the offcut. I cut off the front, and I'm just going to cut it into slivers, and that's going to be my felt support tray as such. It won't degrade in the sun. It's much thicker, it's waterproof, it won't tear when it gets hot under expansion and contraction because it can stretch. Does mean I need to rip off the existing stuff, but this stuff is literally 10 times better. This should be the standard, and I don't care what any roofer says about that. I don't know much about roofing, but I know this stuff's brilliant.
These would pretty much be invisible anyway from the roof line, but I do think it is a superior product. Whether it could be used commercially or whether it's worth it, I don't actually know. Just the opinion I held at the time. But it does feel like a really nice quality product. It's like 2-3 mil thick, and you can cut it with the Stanley knife. It is, in my mind, a better product to use. Again, you're not going to see it. Those plastic trays, you might see a little bit of them at the front of the building, but most of it's going to be hidden behind the gutter and then the very end of the tiles, which actually cover up most of it. So is it that important? Probably not.
That's all the Eaves tiles and my rubber EPDM rolls ready to come up on the roof. Those are the ones that need to go here on this tile, sorry, this batten, but I need to take a little bit off it. I'm unsure as to whether just to rip one of these down on the table saw in half, so the tile, the very bottom tile, can sit over the top of it, because otherwise you sort of have this predicament where this one won't sit on, or they kick up. Okay, so here's it a little bit more accurately represented. So you have these tiles, these Eaves tiles that I've cut down. That one's got a bit of a rough edge, but I'll clean them up with the angle grinder before they go on. And also it's still got all the residual dust, hence the greyness. Essentially, if I can do this one-handed, this is how it goes. So they will go on the very bottom tile batten. One-handed, one-handed, one-handed. And then this one goes on the one above, like that. But this bottom batten, you might be able to see there with the tile, causes it to kick up a bit too much. So I need to take some off the bottom batten, either plane the bottom edge or peel this off. Put my EPDM to replace this plastic Eaves tray across here. I'm just going to get these red battens on up there and around there.
Again, I haven't done the tiling yet, but the battening's meant to be the easier part, so we'll see. Once the tiling goes on, I've got to do a lot of cuts. So all those hips, all 6 hips need cutting, or is it technically 7 hips? But yeah, lots of cuts as it reaches the corners on all my tiles. Most of them don't need nailing, you just place them on there in case there's breakages, you can replace them. But yeah, that big job I'm looking forward to next.
So I haven't replaced it with rubber around the front. I've left the plastic on. I'm starting to put some plywood grounds underneath so I can fix my fascia to it. Hardwood ply that is, 12mm. And I've also taken an arris off the batten here, ripped them all down with my table saw, just so the next tile sits flush over the top like that. Otherwise it kicks up by the amount that I've taken off there, which is the thickness of a tile at the fixing point. This will lift up a little bit more than it is now when that ply underneath is fixed up, but essentially my gutter will go here capturing all the water from the tiles, and then you've still got another tile to go on top of here, like this one. So I'm quite happy with how that's finishing now. So you get like 30-ish mil into the gutter. Still need to obviously cut this end tile here, but I haven't got my ridge tiles as of yet. They're arriving tomorrow. I just had some more batten arrive, pink batten, which is making my roof nice and multicoloured.
But if there are any roofers out there, I'm curious, or builders, or people who have done this job before, how they would approach it. Especially you do most of it on your own. I'm using that block method where I'm just going up it and then I measure down the roof. I think pinging a string line on my own became a bit cumbersome, so I preferred this method.
So after the rest of my batten arrived, I had to get it on. It's on all the big bits. So the big bits, the main part of the roof, this section. And it goes right up. I need to do that little small section there. I could do that tomorrow. Just wanted to challenge myself to get this done this evening. And I will just take you up there. Wow. Without falling over. You can sort of see the scale of it. Again, slate battens, not that easy to walk up with plain tile gauges. And there's still a little bit more to do. And sort of this felt, I've got to fold it over. Very multicoloured. But yeah, we're quite a few metres up here. But yeah, there you can see it more accurately. And I'm terrified of heights, so that's a laugh. Anyway, I'm going to take my tools down and call it for an evening. So my ridge tiles have arrived, and they are way bigger than I was expecting, which is a good thing because it means more coverage. They're also a lot smoother than the rest of the roof. They are meant to stand out, and these are the ones that SIG Roofing this, they said to get. They are an off colour compared to the rest of the tiles though, but they're still a type of brown, I guess. So you can sort of see the coverage that will be provided here, plenty of coverage. You can see it right up there, and there'll be a dry system that fixes it in. I am conscious of how long this video is, so I'm going to end it here, and then in the next video you can watch me get all this tiled, Soffit, fascia and everything else. I didn't actually manage to get the wall straps in this video, but that's for the next one. There's more fun for the next video, hey? Right, catch you later.
I'm here when you need my voice. I'm here when you need my voice. I'm here when you need my voice.